All right, so for today's video, I wanted to talk about basically righteous anger, right? And this is something that isn't really talked about often in spirituality, if you want to put it that way, in spirituality and spiritual circles. Whenever people talk about, especially in the New Age, right? Whenever people talk about, not only righteous anger, but when people talk about violence, right? When people talk about fighting against evil, there's really I would suggest that there's a very lukewarm, watered down, false spirituality behind this. Because if you really think about it, right, you're not supposed to tolerate evil, you're supposed to destroy evil. But the primary agenda or the thing that they promote a lot in the sort of false new age spiritualities, they promote like the whole like don't look at the negative, right? It's all love and light and you shouldn't think bad thoughts, you shouldn't think negative thoughts, right? You know what it reminds me of, if you've ever watched Avatar the Last Airbender. It's like there is no war in Ba Sing Se, right? It's like they have that sort of mentality about them, and it's like if you mention anything negative, it's like they attack you for mentioning anything negative. Even though there's very obvious evil in this world, there's satanic rituals, there's child sacrifice happening all over the world, right? There are demonic forces at work, right? There are non-physical, archontic forces at work, right? There are these archons, these non-physical entities at work to try and destroy humanity, and this is something that we have to fight against, and ultimately that we have to destroy. We have to destroy this threat, but this is something that the New Age religions don't really accept, and they don't really want to talk about it a lot, right? And so this is something that I'm going to talk about, and I do believe, and I'm specifically, yet again, like I said at the start of this video, I want to talk about the purpose of righteous anger, right? Because whenever, and this is something that I think especially guys can relate to, but I think just everyone in general can relate to. It's like whenever you see like a human trafficker or a pedophile, right? Like that, you have this internal urge to like beat them to death with a baseball bat, right? And that urge is something that comes from your essence. That is your sense of good and evil, right? That is something that comes from your essence. Think about that for a second. Your sense of good and evil is telling you that whenever you see evil like that you have that impulse from your spirit to destroy that evil, not to tolerate it, not to what do they say in all the shitty Marvel movies, all the superhero movies? They say be the bigger person, right? That's not the like what does your spirit say? What does your divine spark tell you to do? What does your soul tell you to do? What does your sense of good and evil tell you to do? Is it tells you to destroy evil whenever you see it, right? Whenever you see unforgivable sin, right? Yet again, child rape, child sacrifice, right? Satanic ritual, human sacrifice, right? Anytime this comes up, right? Whenever you show this to people, they get mad, right? The righteous anger, right? That is something that we should listen to. That there's a purpose to righteous anger, and not only that, but I would suggest that there is a purpose to controlled violence, right? And you know what this reminds me of is it reminds me of a lot of fictional media, right? And you'll know this if you watch my other videos, that there is a reason why humanity is fascinated with certain things, and this shows up in fictional media. What is humanity as a whole interested in, right? You think about superpowers, superhuman abilities, right? That's one thing that I talk about, right? Where like it's almost like we had these abilities at one point. We had the ability to like super strength, super speed, super senses, right? Things of that nature. Like we're fascinated by that because at one point we did have the capacity to exercise those abilities. We had those abilities at one point, but they were genetically programmed out of humanity, right? Here, let me get a drink of water, right? So like I was saying, there's a reason why humanity is interested in certain things, and this pops up in physical media. And you know what's interesting is that this righteous anger and this tendency towards violence tends to show up a lot. And just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of like Doom Guy. Think of Duke Nukem, right? Think of like Judge Dredd or something like that, right? It's like specifically, and this is another archetype that shows up in the collective unconscious through fictional media, is fighting against an alien invasion, which is if you replace alien with demonic invasion from the non-physical, hyperdimensional, right? A hyperdimensional invasion of demonic entities, demonic forces, non-physical forces. This is exactly what humanity is experiencing right now. And therefore, right, that this fascination shows up in mainstream fictional media, and why yet again humanity is drawn towards certain things on a collective scale, right? In the same way we're drawn towards superpowers. You look at like the Avengers, you look at the Justice League, right, fighting off an alien invasion, or an invasion of non-human entities from another dimension, right? It reflects the situation that we're having. It's like we're looking in the mirror every time we look at these things. And yet again, going back to those examples of like playing Doom, right, where you hold a shotgun and you shoot demons, right? Or like Duke Nukem, you're using giant Desert Eagles to shoot up a bunch of aliens. Or you think about like Judge Dredd, like the sentence is death, I am the law, right? Like that kind of righteous anger and the controlled violence, right? Think of like God of War with Kratos, right, fighting against the gods, right? This is something that I believe that there's a purpose to it. There's a purpose to the righteous anger. There's a purpose to the tendency towards the like fighting against the violence against evil, right? Right. And you know what else it makes me think of? It makes me think of when Jesus says, I've come not to bring peace but a sword, right? And here's the thing: I'm not a big fan of religion, and I'm not a big fan of giving away my power to a savior figure. But that line really says a lot, right? Because you have Jesus calling out the Pharisees. You have him like flipping tables, right? You have him having a zero tolerance policy, casting out demons, right? That zero chill, zero tolerance. That's something that I can respect. Whenever I see, whenever I look into like Jesus and him in the Bible, his zero chill, zero tolerance policy. That's something that I can respect, right? I've come not to bring peace, but a sword, right? And it's the same thing here with, um, you know, fighting against these demonic entities, fighting against this cabal, right? Fighting against the child sacrifice, the satanic ritual abuse, right? And in order to stop all of that, I believe that, and I fundamentally believe also that this is kind of a sacred masculine principle, right? Because if you think about like men are supposed to be the protectors, we're supposed to be the ones who are protecting against threats, right? We're supposed to be the ones who are, the provider protectors. Like that's supposed to be sort of our role, right? And so that controlled violence, yet again controlled, right? Not out of control, not out of control, like you destroy everything with no reason violence. I'm talking about controlled violence, right? Where which is powered by the righteous anger, right? And what I'm saying in this video, right, is I'm saying that there is a reason for that. And I'm saying on a fundamental level, even though we've been programmed to say, "Oh, be the bigger person," and we're programmed to say, "Oh, it's all love and light," and you just say, like, we just need to love more, and we just need to be the bigger person, and it's all butterflies and rainbows. Even though that's through the false spirituality and through the media, they've sort of programmed this, not sort of like rolling and exposing our bellies sort of response, right? They've programmed that response into humanity, and what I'm saying is I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying, hey, there's a reason for the righteous anger. There's a reason for the tendency towards violence. Like I want to, like whenever I hear about the Draco reptilians, right? Whenever I hear about the Freemasons sacrificing little kids, right? I want to go and shoot them in the fucking face. I want to go shoot them in the head with a fucking super shotgun from Doom. I want to shoot them with a golden tiger striped Desert Eagle like Duke Nukem, right? And that's what it makes me think of, right? So that's the general message that I want to get up, that I want to get off my chest. through this rant, through this video, is that there is a reason for the righteous anger. There is a reason for the tendency towards violence, towards this evil, because evil is not something to be tolerated or trifled with or negotiated with. Evil is something to be destroyed. And your sense of good and evil, not what people tell you from the outside, but from within, from your spirit, your sense of good and evil tells you this. It tells you this is so, and you should listen to that rather than a bunch of clowns telling you that you should be the bigger person and it's all love and light and you should just sit back and it's all. And if you think happy thoughts, you'll shift into the new earth, which is complete BS. We have to take action, right? So that's the general message of this video, is that your sense of is that you are not crazy for having that that righteous anger response, that tendency toward that impulse, the sense of good and evil within your spirit that tells you, hey, this evil has to be destroyed once and for all. That impulse that comes from inside you, you're not crazy. It's the world that's crazy for saying that you should tolerate this, right? That's what I want to say. There's a reason for righteous anger. There's a reason for it. And you shouldn't ignore it, right? Because this is something that comes from within you. One of the most basic spiritual faculties, your sense of good and evil, is telling you that this evil must be destroyed, right? Not peace, but a sword, right? All right, that's the video.